Commander Blark stood at the bridge of the Stellar Decimator, his 3 tentacles drumming impatiently on the command console. The holographic display of Earth rotated slowly before him, a blue-green jewel just begging to be conquered. Another primitive planet, another glorious victory for the archives. Or so he thought. Sir, Lieutenant Wobble's voice quivered with excitement, his eye stalks twitching in that annoying way that always made Blark want to reassign him to waste management. Preliminary scans show minimal defensive capabilities. No energy shields, no orbital weapons platforms, and their most advanced vehicles barely break atmospheric escape velocity. Wonderful, Blark drawled, his voice dripping with the special kind of sarcasm reserved for particularly easy conquests. I suppose we should all go home then, since there's clearly no glory in this conquest whatsoever. He paused for dramatic effect, watching Wobble's skin shift to an embarrassed shade of purple. Or perhaps, we should do our jobs and follow standard invasion protocols, the bridge crew snickered. They'd seen this routine before Commander Blark playing with his subordinates like a cat with a particularly stupid mouse. But hey, at least it made these routine conquests somewhat entertaining. Launching scout pods now, sir. Wobble announced, desperately trying to redeem himself. Teams Alpha through Delta are beginning their surface reconnaissance of the target area designated as Suburban America. The commander settled to his hover chair, already mentally composing his victory speech. These humans wouldn't know what hit them. The scout pods would confirm the landing zones, the ground forces would deploy, and by dinner time, or whatever passed for dinner in this backwater solar system, Earth would be another jewel in the crown of the Galactic Conquest Fleet. That's when the screaming started. Medical emergency in Scout Pod Alpha. The ship's AI blared through the command center. Multiple injuries reported. Unknown weapon encountered. Blark's tentacles stiffened. Unknown weapon? From these primitives? Display visual feed immediately. The holographic display shifted to show the interior of Scout Pod Alpha. 3 of his best reconnaissance troops were writhing on the floor, their armored foot appendages somehow punctured. The 4th member of the team was hopping on one foot, unleashing a string of expletives that would make a space pirate blush. What in the name of the 7 moons happened down there? Blark demanded. The team leader's voice came through, strained with pain. Sir, we landed as planned. Began our stealth approach through what appeared to be a civilian dwelling. Then, sweet mother of Nebulas, WHO would leave these on the floor. The camera panned down to show the weapon in question, a small, colorful piece of plastic with sharp corners, lying innocently on the carpeted floor alongside several of its brethren. Science Officer Peake's voice cut through the chaos. Sir, preliminary analysis suggests these are construction toys. The humans call them Lego bricks. Construction toys. Blark repeated slowly, his tone suggesting that either his universal translator was malfunctioning or the universe itself had gone mad. You're telling me my elite scout team was disabled by toys? Affirmative, sir. And, oh dear, Peake's eye stalks widened as data streamed across his console. They're everywhere. In homes, in schools, in specialized retail establishments. Billions of them, possibly trillions, scattered across the planet's surface. Commander Blark stared at the image of the Lego brick, its sharp corners seeming to mock him personally. How do the humans survive this? Are they immune? Some kind of evolved defense? Sir, another scout team was reporting in. We've observed a human juvenile walking barefoot through a designated playroom. They're stepping on these things deliberately. As some kind of training exercise. A hush fell over the bridge. Even Wobble stopped his nervous twitching. Log this in the official record, Blark announced, his voice grave. Earth is hereby classified as a Class 1 threat world. These Legos are to be considered weapons of mass destruction. All personnel are to maintain minimum safe distance from any suspicious plastic objects. He paused, looking out at the seemingly innocent planet below. And someone get me the Galactic Council on the quantum comm. They need to know what we're dealing with here. As the bridge crew scrambled to comply with his orders, Blark couldn't shake the image of those innocent-looking bricks from his mind. In all his years of planetary conquest, he'd never encountered anything quite like this. The humans had managed to weaponize joy itself, and they didn't even know it, and this was just the beginning of their problems. Science Officer Peake was having the worst day of his career, and considering he once accidentally teleported himself inside out, that was saying something. As you can see, Commander, he gestured to the holographic display with a trembling tentacle, these Lego bricks defy our understanding of primitive weaponry. The display showed a rotating image of a simple 2x4 brick, innocent-looking yet menacing. They're made of something called ABS plastic, which our senses initially dismissed as harmless. Oh, how wrong we were. Commander Blark, still nursing a headache from writing incident reports about their first encounter, glared at the rotating brick. Skip the dramatic pauses, Peake. Just tell me how we defeat these things. Well, sir, Peak pulled up another display, this one showing failed attempt after failed attempt to neutralize the LEGO threat. We've tried energy weapons, they just melt slightly and become even stickier. Acid creates toxic fumes. Crushing them nearly broke our industrial compressor. And don't even get me started on what happened when we tried to teleport them into space. What happened when you tried to teleport them? They came back, sir, somehow, and reorganized themselves into what appears to be a crude representation of a spaceship. Peak's skin turned a pale shade of green at the memory. It's like they're mocking us. The commander's eye stalks twitched in frustration. What about the surveillance footage? Surely we must have observed some weakness in their deployment. Peak activated another hologram, this one showing a human dwelling's interior. This, sir, is what we've classified as a Class 1 danger zone, commonly known as a child's bedroom. He shuddered. Our stealth drones have mapped the distribution patterns. They're diabolical, sir, completely random, no discernible pattern, just when you think you've found a safe path. Crunch. The footage showed a hapless scout drone attempting to navigate the room, only to encounter a perfectly camouflaged Lego piece under a stuffed animal. The drone's hover mechanisms never stood a chance. But here's the truly terrifying part, Peak continued, switching to new footage. Watch this human child. The video showed a small human gleefully running through the minefield of LEGOs, occasionally stopping to pick them up and connect them together. They're immune, Blark whispered in horror. Worse, sir, they appear to enjoy it. Our psychological analysis suggests they're using these weapons as some form of entertainment. They're training their young to be immune to pain itself. Commander Blark slumped in his hover chair. Keep watching the footage, Peak. I want to know everything. How they're manufactured, how they're distributed, why some are shaped like tiny humanoids with removable hair, sir. Lieutenant Wobble burst into the lab, his usual nervous energy amplified to near vibrating levels. You need to see this immediately. The main screen lit up with a new image that made everyone in the room gasp. A massive structure, gleaming in the sunlight, its walls adorned with the unmistakable LEGO logo. What am I looking at, Wobble? Blark demanded. They call it a LEGO store, sir. It's a distribution center for their weapons. But that's not the worst part. Wobble's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. They let civilians build their own. The room fell silent as security footage from inside the store played. Humans of all ages gathered around tables filled with loose LEGO bricks, freely assembling them into new configurations. This is unprecedented, Peak muttered, frantically taking notes. The humans have weaponized creativity itself. They're not just using these as weapons, they're turning them into art, into education tools, into... He paused, checking his data, something called therapeutic building exercises. Commander Blark raised all three of his appendages in exasperation. Are you telling me these humans have created a weapon so advanced that it simultaneously causes pain and joy? It appears so, sir. And there's more. Peak pulled up a final image, a massive structure in a place called Denmark. This is their main training facility. They call it Legoland. Mother of meteorites, Blark breathed. They've built entire theme parks dedicated to these weapons of mass destruction. The sheer scale of their operation, the dedication to their craft. Sir, Wobble interrupted, his voice shaking. General Thump is demanding an update on the invasion plans. He's not taking the delays well. Commander Blark stared at the screens surrounding him, the LEGOs, the stores, the children playing, the theme parks, and made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Tell General Thump. He paused for dramatic effect, that we're dealing with something far beyond our previous experience. And may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all if he doesn't take these warnings seriously. As if to punctuate his statement, somewhere in the lab, a forgotten LEGO brick made a small, innocent clicking sound as it fell from a research table. Every alien in the room jumped. General Thump was not amused. In fact, he was so far from amused that his normally crimson complexion had turned an alarming shade of purple that medical officers typically associated with dangerous blood pressure levels in their species. Toys. He bellowed, his voice echoing through the command center of Stellar Decimator. You're telling me that the mighty Galactic Conquest Fleet is being held at bay by children's toys? Commander Blark maintained his composure, though his tentacles nervously curled at the tips. With all due respect, General, if you'd review the casualty reports from our initial reconnaissance. Reports? Thump slammed all four of his fists onto the holographic display table, causing the image of Earth to flicker. I've conquered 17 star systems. I've faced plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, and literal black holes. I will not have my reputation tarnished by some primitive plastic blocks. Science Officer Peak cleared his throat. Actually, sir, preliminary analysis suggests they're not just blocks. We've also identified specialized pieces called Technic, Bionicle, and something particularly terrifying called Duplo, which appear to be silence. General Thump's eye stalks bulged dangerously. I'm taking personal command of this operation. Prepare the drop ships. We'll show these humans what a real invasion looks like. Commander Blark and Science Officer Peak exchanged worried glances. Lieutenant Wobble, showing an unprecedented amount of wisdom, had already hidden under his console. Target acquired, sir, the tactical officer announced. We've identified a primary dwelling in the suburban zone. Minimal defenses, except for what, soldier? Speak up. It appears to be the residence of something called a Lego enthusiast, sir. General Thump's grin would have sent a battle-hardened space marine running for cover. Perfect. We'll crush their precious toys and their morale in one strike. Deploy the troops. And so began what would later be known in galactic military history as the Great Tactical Blunder, or more commonly among the troops as that time General Thump lost his dignity and several toes. The first wave of dropships descended under cover of darkness. Elite shock troops, veterans of countless battles, equipped with the finest armor in the galaxy, moved with precision toward their target, a modest two-story house with a peculiar Legoland bumper sticker on the vehicle in the driveway. Sir, the point team leader whispered into his comm, we've breached the perimeter. Entering through the rear access point designated as sliding glass door, General Thump, watching from his command ship, practically vibrated with anticipation. Excellent. Show these primitives the meaning of. What's that sound? The sound in question was something no training had prepared them for. The distinctive crunch of armored alien boots meeting Danish plastic in the dark. My foot. The point leader screamed, sweet merciful, it's a Millennium Falcon. They left a half-built Millennium Falcon on the floor. Chaos erupted. Night vision systems revealed the true horror. They had entered through what appeared to be a dedicated Lego construction room. Half-finished projects littered every surface. Boxes of loose pieces weighted like caltrops. And there, in the center of it all, stood the crown jewel of pain. A massive Duplo block. What's a Duplo? General Thump demanded. His question was answered by the agonized shriek of a soldier who had just discovered that scaling up a Lego brick did not, in fact, make it less painful to step on. Retreat, someone yelled, but retreat proved impossible. In their panic, the troops had scattered random pieces across their own escape route. The sound of professional soldiers hopping, cursing, and occasionally crying filled the tactical channel. From his command ship, General Thump watched in horror as his elite force was reduced to a stumbling, bumbling mess by inanimate pieces of plastic. His pride, however, wouldn't let him admit defeat. Push forward. He ordered. They're just toys. How bad could it? He never finished that sentence, because at that moment, something even worse happened. The house lights turned on. Mom, a young voice called out. I think someone's in my Lego room. Send in the extraction teams. Blark ordered, having seen enough. General, I strongly suggest. No, Thump roared. I will not be defeated by. His voice trailed off as he watched the video feed. The human child, far from being terrified of the alien invasion force, was looking at them with, was that pity? You guys stepped on the LEGOs, didn't you? The kid asked, shaking their head. Rookie mistake. Here, let me show you how to walk through a Lego room properly. The final insult came when the child, wearing nothing but soft sleeping garments on their feet, proceeded to navigate the minefield of blocks with the grace of a dancer, rescuing several whimpering alien soldiers in the process. The extraction teams found General Thump in his quarters hours later, rocking back and forth, mumbling something about the superior tactical awareness of human children, and the need for better boot design. Commander Blark, surveying the aftermath from the bridge, turned to Science Officer Peak. Call an emergency council meeting. And, get me everything we have on human children's toys. I have a terrible feeling Legos aren't the only weapons we need to worry about. Somewhere in the recovered footage, they could hear a child's voice saying, wait until they find out about Hot Wheels cars in the dark, Doctor. Squish, the fleet's leading expert in psychological warfare, stood before the emergency council with the kind of confidence that only comes from complete ignorance of what you're about to face. His presentation, titled, Understanding Earth's Plastic Defense Systems, a Strategic Analysis, was about to become legendary, for all the wrong reasons. Fellow beings of superior intelligence, he began, his tentacles gesturing at elaborate holographic displays. After exhaustive research, I believe I've discovered the human's weakness. These Lego weapons, they're actually part of a complex system they call play. Commander Blark, still wearing protective boot covers even on the ship, raised an eye stalk. And this helps us how, exactly? Simple. Dr. Squish beamed. If we can understand their play, we can overcome it. I've devised a brilliant plan. We'll infiltrate one of their Lego distribution centers. I've even prepared disguises, The disguise in question, as it turned out, was a long coat with 3 children stacked on top of each other, except designed for aliens. The council chamber erupted in murmurs of disbelief. Dr. Blark pinched his sensory bridge with a tentacle. Please tell me this isn't your actual plan. Oh, but it gets better. Dr. Squish activated another hologram. We've identified something called a Lego store. They let anyone, walk in and handle the weapons. It's the perfect opportunity for close-range study, and that's how, against all better judgment and several direct violations of common sense, Operation Brick Break began. Dr. Squish, wearing his ridiculous disguise and speaking in what he thought was a convincing human child voice, entered the Lego store in a suburban mall. Commander Blark watched through hidden cameras, already composing his resignation letter in his head. Greetings, fellow human children. Dr. Squish announced to the store, I wish to purchase some normal Lego toys for normal human activities. The store staff, to their credit, barely batted an eye. Working retail, they'd seen weirder. The pick-a-brick wall is over there, a tired employee pointed, not even looking up from their phone. Cups are $6.99. Dr. Squish approached the wall of loose Lego pieces with the caution of someone approaching an armed nuclear device. Which, in his mind, wasn't far from the truth. Fascinating. He whispered into his hidden communicator. They sort the weapons by size and color. The organizational efficiency is terrifying. Commander Blark's voice crackled back, just get some samples and get out. And stop talking in caps lock, but Dr. Squish was already too far gone, mesmerized by the walls of colorful bricks. He reached out to touch one, and that's when everything went wrong. The first problem. Alien tentacles aren't great at picking up small plastic bricks. The second problem. When you knock over one container on the pick-a-brick wall, you tend to knock them all over. The sound of thousands of Lego pieces hitting the floor caused every human in the store to turn and stare. Dr. Squish, in a panic, tried to help clean up, which only made things worse as his tentacles sent more bricks scattering. Code brick on aisle 3, the employee sighed into their radio, still not looking up. But the true disaster came when Dr. Squish discovered something even more terrifying than loose Legos. The display models. Such engineering. He exclaimed, reaching for a massive Star Destroyer display model. The structural integrity, the precision, the oops. The crash echoed through the entire mall. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Science Officer Peak was making an even more disturbing discovery. Sir. He called to Commander Blark, you need to see this. We've identified other potential weapons in their arsenal. Something called Hot Wheels, tiny metal vehicles capable of incredible speeds. Jacks, caltrops, clearly inspired by ancient warfare. And most disturbing of all, Barbie Dream House accessories. Blark looked at the findings in horror. How many of these weapons do they have? Sir, they have entire stores dedicated to nothing but toys. They call them toy stores. Peak's voice dropped to a whisper. And we found something called a dollar store that seems to manufacture cheaper, even more hazardous versions. Back at the Lego store, Dr. Squish was discovering that his disguise wasn't quite as convincing as he'd hoped, especially now that he was covered in Lego bricks and making distressed alien noises. Sir, the store employee finally looked up. Are you okay? Do you need help finding something? Negative, fellow human. I am conducting perfectly normal. I mean, just browsing, thank you. Dr. Squish attempted to casually lean against a display, forgetting that his species doesn't have elbows. More crashes ensued. Commander Blark had seen enough. Abort mission. Get out of there now. Dr. Squish made for the exit, but not before stepping on several of the scattered bricks. His screams, though muffled by the coat, were still quite distinctive. As the emergency extraction team, disguised as mall maintenance, rushed in to collect their writhing colleague, Commander Blark made a final note in his report. Conclusion. Earth's toy-based defense systems extend far beyond our initial Lego assessment. Recommendation. Classify all human retail establishments as potential weapons depots. Additional recommendation. Never let Dr. Squish plan an infiltration mission again. And somewhere in the mall, a child looked up at their parent and asked, why was that weird coat full of tentacles running away from the Lego store? Don't stare, honey, the parent replied, not looking up from their phone. This is Mall of America. We've seen weirder. The Grand Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Hundreds of representatives from across the cosmos sat in stunned silence as Commander Blark's presentation reached its conclusion. The final holographic image, a simple 2x4 Lego brick rotating slowly above the speaker's podium, cast an ominous shadow across the chamber. And sir, esteemed council members, Blark concluded, his tentacles still trembling slightly at the memory, I formally request that Earth be classified as a Class 1 protected world, not due to its military might or technological advancement, but due to what I can only describe as the most diabolically effective passive defense system ever encountered. Admiral Stern, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures who had previously considered themselves immune to physical pain, raised a glittering appendage. Commander, are you seriously suggesting we abandon our conquest plans because of toys? Blark signaled to Science Officer Peak, who activated the next holographic display. The chamber filled with the sounds of alien screams, recordings from what was now known as the Great Lego Store Catastrophe. With all due respect, Admiral, Blark replied, I invite you to volunteer for our next reconnaissance mission. I'm sure Dr. Squish would appreciate the company in physical therapy. From his hover chair in the medical bay observation gallery, Dr. Squish waved a heavily bandaged tentacle. He was still picking plastic bricks out of his suction cups, but surely, another council member spoke up, these are just one type of weapon. How dangerous could their other toys be? Lieutenant Wobble, who had finally stopped hiding under consoles long enough to attend the presentation, activated another hologram. Allow me to present Exhibit B, the Hot Wheels incident. The footage showed an alien scout team in night vision, confidently striding through what appeared to be a human living room, until one of them stepped on a die-cast metal car. The resulting cartwheel would have won Olympic medals, had there been a category for involuntary alien gymnastics, and let's not forget, Peak added, bringing up another display, the psychological warfare aspects. Observe this footage from a human-dwelling security system. The video showed a human parent stepping on a Lego brick in the middle of the night, yet somehow maintaining enough self-control to not wake their sleeping child with their muffled screams of agony. Their pain tolerance is beyond anything we've encountered, Blark explained. They've turned suffering into an art form. How do you defeat an enemy that uses their own torment as a teaching tool? General Thump, watching from his own medical bay pod where he was still recovering from his ill-fated invasion attempt, merely whimpered at the footage. Furthermore, Blark continued, we've discovered that these are not isolated incidents. The humans have created entire industries around these weapons. They have something called toy stores, massive arsenals disguised as retail establishments. And most disturbing of all, he paused for dramatic effect, they're constantly inventing new ones. The hologram shifted to show a toy store shelf stocked with various plastic building blocks, action figures, and game pieces. Each item was labeled with a danger rating based on potential foot damage. The humans call this innovation and play, Peak explained. But we know better. This is evolution in action. Every year, they create new ways to make their toys more engaging. And coincidentally, more painful to step on. Admiral Stern's crystalline form shimmered with concern. Your recommendations, Commander? Blark straightened to his full height, all three tentacles raised in emphasis. First, immediate classification of Earth as a protected world. Second, establishment of a warning beacon system around their solar system. The message will be simple, beware of Legos. And third, he added, activating one final hologram showing a human child cheerfully building with Lego bricks, we officially recognize that we may have, perhaps, slightly underestimated this species. Anyone capable of weaponizing joy itself is not to be trifled with. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Votes were cast, decisions were made, and in the end, Earth gained a new designation in the galactic database, approach with extreme caution. Surface hazardous. Indigenous species has mastered the art of defensive entertainment. As the council session concluded, Commander Blark made one final log entry. Postscript. We never did figure out how they managed to build those massive Lego sculptures without injury. Some mysteries, perhaps, are better left unsolved. Epilogue. In a suburban bedroom on Earth, a young child sat surrounded by Lego bricks, carefully constructing a spaceship of their own design. Through their window, unnoticed, a faint light blinked in the night sky, a new warning beacon taking its place among the stars. The child's creation bore an uncanny resemblance to the stellar decimator, though they had no way of knowing this. They added one final brick, completing their masterpiece, and smiled. On their desk, a half-finished homework assignment lay forgotten. Its title read, What I Want to Be When I Grow Up. Only one line had been written. Toy designer. Somewhere in the vast reaches of space, Commander Blark felt an inexplicable shiver run down his tentacles.